So today's webinar is Digital Portfolios for Student Assessment. And when I thought about the title and I really got involved in digital portfolios, I questioned the idea of adding the for student assessment on the end, because you're going to see today that digital portfolios serve many purposes. And if you're going to think about them as student assessment, you're going to want to think of it as a student assessing their own work as well as a teacher assessing the work. It's much more than just an assessment tool. So I thought we would start off having a little review. We're all on different pages about what a digital portfolio really is. So let's watch this video that explains the purpose of digital portfolios. Audio back on. Okay. Right. Okay, I've included another video that you guys can watch if you're wondering more about how digital portfolios fit into the 21st century. But we've discussed that in some of our past webinars. So while that may be useful to anyone you share this webinar with, I think that you guys are all on that page with me. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that the video mentioned about why digital portfolio. So the most important thing that the video said was that it instills in students a sense of ownership, because if students own their work, then they see it as their responsibility to lead their path and to feel like it belongs to them and have some ownership in what they're doing. It also provides a platform for sharing work with an authentic audience. We've talked a lot about what an authentic audience really is. And if you think about it, kids respond better when they're able to share their work because they have a valid audience and instead of the thought that it's sitting in a pile on the teacher's desk. The idea of students seeing their personal growth can really be something that a digital portfolio is very helpful with. When we collect portfolio pieces in paper, you can see growth over time, but as you will see in some of the examples today, a digital portfolio allows you to keep so many artifacts and see growth over time. And digital citizenship. If you think about it, the access technology provides gives us a lot of freedom, but to be a good citizen in the 21st century, greater choice needs to be balanced with greater responsibility. When teachers and students can capture their own learning and then make thoughtful decisions about what artifacts are worthy of sharing with the world, they become more mindful contributors to our society. And from my research of digital portfolios, what I think that really stands out to me is the opportunity for reflection that digital portfolios provide for not only the teacher, but also for the student. I wanted you to show you this, these ideas about being reflective.
Hello, I'm my artist here to make a bow drill set. See this is my spindle, and this is my block that you put on the top. So when you're spinning it around like that, so it won't melt into your hand. And then this is the bow that I use, and I just use some paracord, nylon paracord. And then this is the hearth that's made out of yellow cedar. The hole is right there, and I tried another hole, but that was too deep, so it didn't really work. And then this is the tinder, just normal dry purlin, and I'm going to show you how I do it, and I'm doing it wrong, I know I am, and please comment down below so you can teach me how to do it, okay? Okay, this is the another part of how I actually do it, and I'm going to test it out. And once again, comment down below and tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Okay, I think we can all agree that we all think that being reflective is a really important part of the teaching and learning process, but finding an opportunity for reflection can often be difficult. So that's something that I would like to really think about when we're talking about digital portfolios, is how a portfolio can help us reflect and help us think about growth. So the way that I like to think about digital portfolio, the purpose of a digital portfolio, is in two different ways. So a digital portfolio can be a workspace for the process, for the learning. In the workspace, teachers can document, students can document. There can be careful selecting and reflecting going on. And in a workspace, that's a great place for collaborating. Digital portfolios can have a completely different purpose in that they can be a place to showcase products that children have created, to show so that you can look and you can see artifacts that show the pattern of growth and tell a learning story. I think that the best digital portfolios are a combination of both, and I'm going to show you some examples of that today. With both showcase and the process type of portfolio, both can facilitate reflection and both can demonstrate growth, depending on how they're used. Now, here's what you have to wrap your head around when you're thinking about portfolios. First, you have to think, what is the purpose? Why do I want students to have a portfolio? And then you have to make an important decision about what kind of host you're going to have for the portfolio, where you're going to hold all your documentation and artifacts. So there's lots of different ideas for how that can be done. A lot of portfolios are done in a blog format, where the student or the teacher creates a running log of ideas and thoughts and reflections and artifacts. The other ideas in these additional organizational structures are somewhat like websites that, that students or teachers can create to hold documentation. Evernote, Notability, and EduClipper are tools that were pretty much made with the specific purpose of digital portfolios or collecting from the get-go. So they're a little bit different, and you'll see examples of those. Although I don't want to focus specifically on the tools, but what the tools are trying to accomplish with the digital portfolios. Okay, so we're going to start with blogging, and as I mentioned, blogging is a running record of student work. Students can see their own progress, but also of the class's progress. And I want you to notice as we look at the blog how the portfolio is used as both a workspace and a showcase. So you'll see that the type of hosting tool that is being used is EduBlogs. It's a tool, and this is a first grade EduBlog. And what you'll see is that this is a first grade classroom, and the teacher creates her blog. Every time she adds a new blog post, the date is added, and she's using her portfolio, or well, her blog, to demonstrate what's happening in the class in all the different subject areas. So this does create an authentic audience for students in which they can show their parents or their friends or anyone in the world what they're doing in their classroom. They can use this to go back and reflect on their lessons, and it's sequential. And this teacher is using writing and photographs in her blog. But then you'll also see over here, each student has a class blog. Now I'm going to go down to Poe's blog. You can notice that they don't use first and last names for privacy, but anytime a blog is on a website and it's not blocked, it means that the parents have given them permission. That's something that is very clear on anything you read about digital portfolios, that you have to have parent permission before posting work. So Poe's blog is also, of course, made with EduBlogs, and they have used it for their spelling words, but what I wanted to show you here was this child created a Thanksgiving Wordle where they brainstormed words that have to do with Thanksgiving, and you can see here this comment. I don't know if you noticed, but when we were on the main page, there was a place to leave either a voicemail or a comment. So you can see that Poe's mom wrote a comment on the blog. And anyone who you know that kids are totally excited when they receive feedback on their work. This Farmer in the Hat is a recording of the child reading So the teacher is using the blog to document reading fluency for the year. So you can see that there's several different reading fluency readings that are on Poe's blog. And if I go back to the site, you'll see right here. So not only can people who know about this blog log in and post comments, but they can also send a voicemail to the kids. All right, so that is a first grade blog written by both the teacher and the students. Okay. All right, so now we're going to look at some Google sites that are written like a blog, and what I want you to keep in mind when you're looking at these examples are how it's obvious that the teacher has focused on process and reflection in these digital portfolios. So I know that it's hard to read this this Google site digital portfolio, but what I want you to notice are the headings. It's a project, and for each project in this Google site, each child wrote an overview of the project, a reflection on the project, and it's a reflection on the process, like how it went, how the group went, what they did, how they could have improved it the next time. And then they write about their final project, provide a link to the final project, and a picture of the final project. So here you have process, reflection, and this digital portfolio is also used as a showcase. In this Google site, I actually have the direct link to this one. We can go and you can see that sometimes design is not the most important aspect that a teacher is looking for, but in this, I've got to get rid of my GoToMeeting tab. Okay, in this portfolio, you can see that the Google site is organized over on the side like a website. Each link goes to a different project. And in this, the one that I chose, the reverse engineering project, I wanted to show you how the purpose of this was to show the process that they went through when they were doing this engineering activity. So they used photographs to document the process and wrote about what they were doing in each step. So while that shows process, there's another math and science project here on in this person's digital portfolio that shows the reflection. So the teacher gave questions about the project to encourage reflection. This is a high school digital portfolio, but you can see how the teacher differentiated by going ahead and giving the questions to teach the child to be reflective. Okay. All right. This is one of my favorite digital portfolios that I found. It just amazes me. I had to keep going back and checking to make sure this was a student who created this digital portfolio. It's a high school grade level, and the digital portfolio host is a tool called Weebly. It is so easy to use and creates a very professional looking a website. So let's go into Alyssa's Weebly site, and you can see in the URL that it's a Weebly site. This is a tech high school, so I'm assuming digital portfolios are very important to this school because you can see that they've been keeping really good digital portfolios this student has for 4 years. So for each year, there's sub-tabs in each class. The student was able to link each project to each class. I want to go down and show you this one. So she was able to link Google Maps from a project that she was doing along with her writing and infographics along with all of her writing about the project. So it really captured everything, different types of digital work into one web page that she can then have, and the student can look at her writing throughout the years and see growth. There's some really good stuff here. I encourage you to go back and look at her portfolio. This can be used for as a resume for college. She can continue to add to her portfolio throughout her life and really look at her learning path and find her interests. Think back on her learning. Okay, now this is also a Google site. You can see through the URL, and it's a second grade. A very good writer for a second grader, and again, this is using Google Sites. So I'm going to go straight to it. And I can tell that this teacher really, the purpose, their main reason for using digital portfolios was reflection. The teacher includes a rubric that I'm going to show you in just a minute. For some reason he calls his teacher Trevor. I'm not sure what's going on with that. But this is a second and third grade, very honest second and third grader. And he has posted some of his projects, and so it is a showcase portfolio as well as a reflective portfolio. If you go to the search for Ava, you'll see that because it's a Google site, the student was able to link any writing that he did through Google Docs straight to his Google site to be used as his portfolio. So if your kids are used to using Google Docs, it's kind of a seamless site to use. So that's his writing. And then the reflectiveness, I can tell it was so important, is that the teacher has the students write monthly reflections, the important thing that they learned, favorite thing about the month. And I think it would be really interesting to see how the reflections develop over time. You can see that they get longer. Maybe they're seeing some importance in the reflections. But they also reflect on field trips. And then what's really interesting is how they talk about how the portfolios are graded publicly, and but it's graded like a report card. And what he is talking about is graded according to a rubric that the teacher has provided to the students. And you can see that when the portfolio is graded, the teacher highlights the parts of the rubric that the portfolio meets. So it's interesting. The rubric would change depending on what your purpose for the portfolio happens to be. All right, now this is, we've been looking at blogs and websites as the portfolio host. Now I'm going to show you a few other tools that were more specifically created with digital portfolios in mind. So the purpose of this teacher's digital portfolios for students is to document student progress. So this is created with a tool, it's an app called Notability. And this is a teacher using this app, and as he or she is walking around, he takes pictures or makes notes about the student's work and then tags it to that student's portfolio. So they can take this note and then using these tools up here can assign it to a specific student's portfolio. So the actual portfolio documentation is going on during class, not necessarily afterwards. So the teacher can go back and reflect on the notes, and everything is saved digitally, which makes the organization and management of assessment a little bit easier. It's also great for parent conferencing and communicating with parents the needs of the child. Evernote is quickly becoming a really popular digital portfolio host. I use Evernote for my grocery lists on my phone because it's an app. It's also a, you can go on the web to use Evernote. I like it because everyone who shares my iTunes account has the same Evernote account. So when we're making our grocery lists, anything that we can all add to the list. So it's very collaborative. But a reason that it's a great portfolio host is that it has camera and audio options. So you're not uploading files, uploading images to your blog or to a website. It's all built into this one tool. So here is a video that shows, it's like 4 minutes long, but I think it's really useful to see how Evernote is used because I obviously can't show it because it's an app.
Hi, this is Matt, and I'm going to provide a quick tutorial on how to use Evernote to document student learning for a digital student portfolio. First, you'll need to create an account with your email and come up with a password. And here is where you'll see an actual home page with notes, notebooks, the market, which is new, and some articles on the top about Evernote's innovations. When you click on notebooks, all the notebooks that you have or don't have will appear on the left. To create a new notebook, click the button Edit, and on the top you'll see New Notebook. Select that, and this page will come up. Add a student's name to the notebook name, and press Done. And now you can see that added person, which I just titled Jeremy, to the left of the notebooks. When you click on Jeremy's notebook, you'll open up to this page and you'll find there are no notes found. You'll need to create a note before you can start adding information by clicking the plus sign right here. Here's your first new note. And you'll notice that I named this first note Butterfly Cycle. That's the student learning that I want to document. When you click on the paperclip on the top right, you'll notice you have 4 options: Camera, Document Camera, Save Photo, and Audio. This time I'm going to click on Camera. Go ahead and take a picture of the student work. You'll get to see a preview first of the photo you like, and you can either retake it or save it as is. And now the photo of the student work is embedded into the note. Now you can add more content to the photo. We're working with kindergarten work here, so writing is more of a challenge than it might be with older kids. So I'm actually going to select audio and have the student actually talk about something that they did here and why it was important. A little wave will appear on the top of the note once you start recording. It would be a good idea to practice what the student's going to say and what they learned and how it was important to them beforehand, but once you're ready, you can record the audio as the student talks about their work. Once you click Done, you'll see in the bottom that there is an Evernote audio note, and anyone who receives this note will hear the audio play of the student talking about their work alongside their actual work. And there you have it. You have your first note in a student digital portfolio. And you can see right here that Evernote is web-based, so it's uploading to the Evernote servers through your account so that it's saved and you can access it wherever you can access Evernote, which is any internet-based device. If you go back to the home page and you click on Notebooks again and select Edit, then you'll be able to actually share a portfolio out. And so here's the student, and I would select that arrow. Then I would get a choice of either Add to Stack or Share. For just sharing out a digital student portfolio, I'll select Share. And then I have a choice. I can either invite certain individuals or I can generate a public link where anyone can view that note. Because this is student information, I'm going to select Invite Individuals. And here you can add the email of the family member who would like to see everything that might go into Jeremy's notebook. And you also want to select permissions so that they can preview this without having to have an Evernote account, and they can just preview it without logging in. That's a very important step. And that is how you create a digital student notebook and share it out with whomever you like. Thank you.
Okay, so that is Evernote, and Evernote has lots of apps that are built in with it. So there's, that's a great place to start with the camera and the video and document scanner. But there's so much and much more you can do as well. Okay, Live Binders is basically a digital 3-ring binder. Let's go in and I will show you what some look like. So apparently these are the 10 greatest examples of all time. The interesting thing about Live Binders is they can be used just for a project. So you can have a binder, anything that you would have a hard binder for on your shelf, you could create a live binder about. But if we're thinking about using it as a e-portfolio, this is the example of a seniors project binder. This Emily has used it as a portfolio of all of her life, but I just wanted to show you the way it's organized. So it's organized by tabs, just like any binder. She has a table of contents, and she's put all of her essays, and then once you go on a tab, there's sub-tabs here, so we can look at her essays, and it links to Google Docs. So it depends on what settings she's set for her Google Doc. If it's a private document, I would need a login. Yes, that was what that one was. But if she's given permission and made it public, we would be able to see that there. So she can use this to share any sort of information about herself that she wants to. Obviously, she's not using it as a public portfolio. But you can see that the organization of Live Binders is by tabs and subtabs. And you can link Google Docs right there. Okay. So everything that I've talked to about up until now were portfolio hosts. That's where you would create your portfolios. Now, if you're doing a blog or a website, then you may want to just link some different types of tools from those websites. So there are some tools that some of which you probably are already familiar with that could just be linked to your portfolios to show student work. And I want to remind you at this point about the differentiation webinars that we've had. What I love about digital portfolios is that a digital portfolio allows students to express what they know in new formats. So instead of using writing always as a predictor of a student's success, the different tools can be captured and held within digital portfolios. So everything that I have with a star beside it, with an asterisk beside it, I have an example of in this presentation. We're not going to go through all of them today, but you do have a link to this presentation so that you can go back and look at some of these examples when you want to review bringing portfolios into the classroom. So we'll go through a few of them. Screencasting is a way to capture what you're doing on a screen. So like with this webinar, we're recording what's happening on my screen now. So that's a webinar. But screencasting is similar. It has been used most of the time for teachers who want to flip their classrooms and teach students lessons before they actually come to the classroom. But as you watch this video, I want you to think about using screencasting with this app, Show Me, for students to capture what they know, so then it can be added to a digital portfolio.
You know, Show Me started with a very simple concept, and that was to capture whatever you want to teach. Using Show Me, a teacher can create a lesson on any topic.
Okay, let's get started by first setting up the coordinate system.
And their students can watch the lesson whenever, wherever.
We need to first draw the graph for y equals x squared, like so, and then move the entire graph up by 3 units.
And teachers have been using Show Me in all kinds of innovative ways. My name is Dr. George Maurer. I'm the assistant principal of Mineola Middle School. Show Me has been an incredible application for us. The app is so intuitive. The students themselves picked it up, and they were off and running before we even came in. And the application has been wonderful. It allows students to create. It allows them to collaborate, to be able to help someone learn something that they didn't know before because of what you've done. How could you not feel good about that?
Alright, that's good. Hi, my name is Dana Hagan. I'm a speech language pathologist. I work with children of a variety of disabilities. And what I like about this app is that I can use it with all of them. I like that title. That's a really good title. Just last week, one of my students, he just started becoming a little bit more comfortable being verbal. And what I did with him was that I asked him what he ate for breakfast. And he shared a whole little story with me with the Show Me app. And then I shared it with his mom, and she started to cry because she said she really has never heard her son speak so eloquently.
But another interesting thing started happening. Teachers started to share their lessons publicly. This meant that any student, regardless of where they live or what school they went to, can now get access to all these great lessons created by amazing teachers across the world. What we've realized is that great teachers are all around us. They can be artists, writers, musicians, and with Show Me, they're changing the way we learn and making quality education accessible to anyone in the world.
So think about the example of a teacher creating a lesson and sharing it with teachers from around the world. Imagine students creating a Show Me of something that they've learned and sharing it with other students around the world. And that idea of an authentic audience, explaining what you know to someone who may not understand or who may want to, that a kid has something important to share. That's a very big idea for a kid or for an adult as well. The next one we're going to look at is Audio Boom.
Pig in a wig is thing. You see. Okay. It is.
Okay, so that is showing a teacher who has been able to do record the students' reading fluency, and we saw that in some of the websites the EduBlog that we saw that had the digital recording of the reading. So you can use different tools and connect them to your blog or to your website instead of just using writing. We've talked about digital storytelling in the past, so we've looked at Little Bird Tales, which is a great way for really young students to create stories that are then generate their own unique URL that can be linked from their digital portfolio. It's great and simple for young children. Storybird is a website that for reluctant writers. It has a very specific audience. Really awesome artwork is added to Storybird, and the artwork comes in sets that sort of tell a story as you look at the picture, but then students are encouraged to write the story surrounding the artwork. And then once you create a Storybird story, it can be hyperlinked from anywhere on the web. This book creator for iPad is obviously a mobile technology that both these two web-based versions can do basically the same thing. So iPad Book Creator is great for if you have mobile devices, and these two Little Bird Tales of Storybird are great if you're using a laptop. So this video will show you what it looks like for students to create books as documents for their digital portfolios. Uh-oh. Technical malfunction. Let's see. Oh dear. Okay. So those were some tools that you can add to your digital portfolios. And what I want you to think about as you're considering implementation of digital portfolios is that first you need to set your purpose, and then you need to think what sort of tool, what sort of platform will meet my purpose. And then the last thing that I want you to make sure that you do is start small. Start with one artifact and really give students clear expectations for what you expect for digital portfolios. And most important, keep the purposes of digital portfolios in your mind above all else, so that the technology doesn't get in the way of the ideas of reflection and creating digital citizens and allowing students to see their personal growth. This presentation has been provided for you so that you can go back and explore the tools at your own in your own time. And our hope is that you'll share these ideas with teachers in your district. And because when creating a new initiative such as digital portfolios, it's always great to have a personal learning community surrounding you so that you can come up with ideas together and grow from each other. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you next month for our webinar, and I'll be in touch with this recording of this webinar for you to share. Have a great afternoon.